Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 6 of the Make a Knife from Ground Zero series. This is the intermediate build. Right now we're left with this blocky kind of mess after glue up. I'm going to show you how to take this from this state right here and how to lay out all the lines and turn this into the knife that we drew at the beginning of the series. At the end of the video, this will be done. You'll get to see the finished knife today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the excess of this pin on the bandsaw. Now I'm just going to take this block right here and I'm going to take a 36 grit belt and just knock the edges off. What I want to do is I just want to take off this extra epoxy right here, and I'm also going to take this guard material right here that's hanging off over the edge, and we're just going to flush this up with the wood just to make the layout lines lay out a little easier. Just so that that's smooth across there. Smooth on the wood here and smooth on the wood here. Now we can lay our templates on here and I'll show you how I scribe center lines and all that good stuff. Alright. So I know we said that we weren't going to see this blade until we were done, but I lied because we need to get to this flat in here. So we're going to go ahead and take our tape off. And I taped it up really, really well. Okay, so I wanted to open it up so we could get to this flat part right here. That's going to be our indexing flat. All our measurements are going to come off of this flat right here. So let's protect our knife from our surface. So I'm going to take a 1, 2, 3 block right here. I'm going to take a 1, 2, 3 block and just lay some tape over it so that it protects my knife, because we don't want it to scratch our knife. Right there, just that edge. So now what happens is, we can take this flat right here, this flat, we can take that flat right there, and we can lay it on the 1, 2, 3 block, and now we have a flat surface. Then we can take our height gauge here, mark the center of the blade. Right there. Now with the flat on there, I can mark a line all the way around. Then what I'm also going to do is just check it from the other side. It's good. Okay, so that marked the center line. That got our center line marked. That's the center line. Now you can see the glue up. It's slightly off from one side to the other. That's perfectly fine. We're going to sculpt all this material to be exactly true and precision to the center line of the knife. And we're going to do that by scribing the lines off of that flat area that I just showed you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up just short of the guard, right there, perfect. I'm going to scribe another line. I used material that was larger than we needed for a reason, so that we'd have some wiggle room. Flip it over, scribe a whole nother set. Lower. This side was slightly smaller. I should have checked that first. There we go. Maybe just a little smaller. Alright, lay some lines here. Okay. So now what we have a center line, perfect. And then what I did was I marked out a line from my shortest piece of material on the guard, and I drew a line here and I drew a line here. And those lines go all the way around. Now you'll see these lines are true to the center line, which means I've got a pretty good chunk of material right here that needs to come off to true this piece of wood up to the knife blade. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. Now I'll walk over and I will true up this side and I'll grind down to my line. So then I'll be left with a block of wood that's absolutely true to the center line of the knife. And we took all those measurements off of this flat right here. So that'll true up the side of our guard and our handle slabs to the center line of the knife. Alright guys, a couple things that I want to be known here. This right here is just wax that's on the blade, and I put that on there to protect it. The type of knife handle that I'm making here is not a fully sculpted handle. So the front of the handle and the back of the handle are about the same in width. A lot of times people like flared handles on these smaller knives. I don't really do that. So I can grind the block to a square dimension that is perfectly true to the blade before I start. That's how I like to start. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my handle shape, the profile of my handle here. So we're going to take our design and we're going to lay it on there like that. That's exactly how we wanted it, something right just like that. Now remember, like I said, this little tip wasn't going to fit in the handle, and that's perfectly fine. So we'll go ahead and we'll draw around the top of the knife here. Yeah, I like that. And we'll just come down like this. And if we want the knife to come in right here, let's just bring it back like that. That's just going to look better for this knife. You know, maybe it won't. Let's actually, you know what? We're gonna put that in there. We're gonna do something just like that. Yeah. So we drew in that handle. So we're going to go and profile that out. Now one thing I'm going to show you, we are going to cut this material right here out too, right into here. I'm just going to lay it up there. I'll show you how I do this. I'm just going to come in with the grinder belt. I'll grind off all this first, and then I'll come in here with the grinder belt, and I'll slowly peck this material away, making sure not to overheat this because I don't want to melt all my epoxy in there. So, you know, I'll come up here and grind this out. Use a 36 grit belt. You'll create less heat by using a lower grit belt. Alright guys, so now that we've got this all ground in and shaped to the way we want it, I'm going to lay it back on the 1, 2, 3 block, and we're going to go ahead and mark out a center line, a new center line since that's gone. Then we're going to mark out some grind to lines. We're going to go ahead and shape this handle. Alright, so let's go ahead and remark a center line here. Make sure that you're pushing down on the flat and not anywhere out here on the blade. If you push anywhere out here, see how it tilts the handle up and down slightly, and then your line won't be true. You can only index off of this little tiny flat spot right here, so make sure that you're pressing down on your flat and you mark yourself a center line. This is our new center line. Perfect. We now have a new center line scribed all the way around the knife and right up onto the guard. So see how I chunked out the guard? I just removed material right there, right into the knife handle. This spot right here is really easy to wash out between the wood and this material. So you want to make sure that you don't sand the wood here lower than this material. And so you're going to want to only sand this area with your sandpaper on some sort of backed item, like my sanding rig that I just showed you guys how to make on my previous video. So we're going to go ahead and mark out some layout lines. I marked the center line. Now I'm going to mark some grind to lines on the sides, just like I did on my last knife tutorial. Let's see, let's go right about there. Perfect. Flip it over. So now I've got 3 lines drawn. These will be my grind to lines. Now I need to lay some lines out on the sides. I'll use my wing divider right here to just lay some lines out. Set up here. That's good. Spread this out just a little bit bigger for the bottom. Alright, so we've got a line across the top and a slightly larger line across the bottom. We've got our 3 lines here. Now what I'll do is I'll go over to my grinder and I will connect this line right here to this line right here and cut that material off, which will start my rounding process. And I will do the same thing here. I will cut from this line to that center line, and that'll knock this corner off and start the bottom to be rounded. The thing that I want to show you is that the top of the knife will be flat from this line to this line. I'll never grind past that. It should be a flat right there, and it should be a flat all the way around. One thing I am going to do is on this knife, I'm going to grind the top and the bottom round, but I'm not going to completely round out the butt end of the knife. I might give this just a slight radius to round this out, but we'll see when we get there. Let's go over to the grinder and knock these edges off first. So here's where we're at right now. Let's get up here and show you real close up. So you can see I knocked off this flat in between my lines on both the top and the bottom, okay? I got a little bit close to my line here, so I'll have to make up here, but that's actually pretty cool on the bottom. So that's gonna work out. Then what I did here is I just ground from, I had my line right, let's see, I had my line right here and my line right here that came up onto the guard. So I ground from the tip of the line to here to get this shape here. And I ground from the tip of the line right here all the way up to where the line intersected right here. And that gave me this rake on the guard and kept it symmetrical from one side to the other. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over, put this in the vise, and I'm going to clean up all these radiuses with a file and just make it nice and symmetrical. And then we're going to take everything out to finish grit and get it finished up. I would like to take this time to show you one other neat trick that I use when I'm doing precision Bowie knives and I want to get these guards absolutely dialed in perfect. I take my 1, 2, 3 block and I stand it on end on my surface plate and I bring it over to the edge of the table to where it's overhanging slightly, and then you can lay your knife with the guard laying right on top of it like this, okay? Now what that does is it gives you a reference right there on the flat of the guard, and then you can come in here from the side and draw in lines on your guard to get them absolutely perfect. Okay, so if this is here and this is here, you could come in with your height gauge and bring it up, and you can scribe perfect lines on your guards to get them absolutely symmetrical from one side to the other. And this proves to be super crucial in a lot of Bowie fits and things like that, where you need the guard to be absolutely flawless and perfect. These smaller knives, it's a whole lot easier to eyeball them and get them almost perfect just by eyeballing. I am going to go ahead and lay a line on this side and this side of this knife for this build, just to get it as perfect as I can. So here we go. I'm going to come in here. Let's just put that right there. And I'm going to mark a line, a good reference line right there. I'll flip it around and I'll put that same line on this side. There we go. So that gave me a line right there and right there. That's going to give me an idea of exactly how far I want to grind up to. Okay guys, I have a whole slew of different files I like to use for projects like this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get in here with some round files and just clean up this inside area here. Want to clean this up. Work the metal first. Get the metal exactly where you want it, and then blend the wood into the metal. That's your best bet. Like that. Okay, what we will do is we'll take these tips right here on the tips and we'll round those over. We're going to do that over on the grinder. What I wanted to do here was just clean up these insides, make sure everything's lining up the way that I want it to. And it is. Now that I've got the metal where I want it, I started with the metal coming into the wood to get it right where I want it, and then I'm just going to kind of trim the wood down. Now that I've got all of these angles dialed in and filed in, and I know my exact dimensions, I'm going to come over here to my grinder again with a 220 grit belt, and I'm just going to blend all these surfaces together. And really the emphasis is, right now, I've got hard angles that come up right here, and I've got these flat facets in the guard, and I'm just going to subtly round those over on the top and on the bottom. I'm going to round this over and clean up the sides with the 220 grit belt. This looks rough right now. What I've done is I've ground up a little bit on this side and a little bit on this side. And I've got my radius here. Now I'll come in with my files and I'll clean all this up, and I want this to be rounded here, and then I'm going to round the tip so it's not sharp. I'm going to round this inside radius right here. I do like this kind of flat right here, so I'm going to leave that in there, and I want this flat in the wood to transfer over into the metal. So this ridge I want to see right up into the metal, or at least where it does meet the metal, I want the two to amalgamate and look the same. Alright, I sanded the handle to 500 grit, so I'll tell you what we're going to do next. I'm going to tape off this guard and the blade, and we're going to take it over to the buffer and we're going to buff it up. Going to buff it up. Wipe off the excess. Show you how I tape this up for the buffer. Okay, now this is really important too, because your buffer, I noticed the wheels on your buffer, when you're buffing the guard right here, if you buff the handle material at the same time, it'll turn your handle material black, and you really can't get the staining off the material. So I try to mask it as close to the material as possible, the handle. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so that way I can buff just the guard. Okay, and now we're going to do the blade. We certainly don't want to buff the blade either. And I'm going to put some tape around this just so it doesn't cut me on the buffer. You know, to be honest with you, the buffer is the scariest machine in the shop. It has a tendency of grabbing things out of your hand and throwing them at you. So, there we go. All taped up so that I can go over and polish this up. Safety glasses. I like to wear gloves when I use my buffer. Okay, okay. Now, since I did use rosewood, I'm going to polish this with with Mothers. Watch this, guys. This is cool. I love this. For some reason, the cut in this works really well for polishing wood, for polishing hard, dense woods. Let's buff it off. Look at that. Wait till you guys get to see that. It's gonna look really good. There is our original design, guys. Now, I made several mistakes along the way, and my point of the whole video series is to show you that you can still make mistakes, but if you keep pushing, you can work towards a solution and still end up with a nice product. Here's the finished product right here, and it's very close to the original design. Very close. The only difference is I shaved a little tiny bit off the handle material here because I didn't have enough material in the stock that I wanted to use. I had other blocks that would have fit this, but I wanted to use this piece because it had this cool knot in it right here, which actually looks really cool. You can't see it perfectly here, but I'm going to take better pictures to where you can see it. This knife turned out really awesome. I got the textured guard in there, the blade, nice hidden tang with the pin. The hamon didn't pop out, but you know what? That hand rubbed finish looks really good on there. It's awesome. It's a great finish. I'm really happy with it. It actually fits the knife very well. Just keep pushing, guys. There we go. Now we're in focus. You just got to keep pushing, and you'll end up with something beautiful. Look at that. That handle material is amazing. I will say, because I textured the guard, there's an area right here, right there, where you could kind of see there's a dimple right on the edge of the slot that I put in. And that's a bummer. It's not, I mean, you could see it. It's a dimple that I put in there intentionally. But I wouldn't do that again. I would try to keep my dimples out here. That one right next to the blade, it draws your eye to it, and it makes you think that there's a gap there. But in actuality, that fitment is incredibly good. You could see there's another dimple right there. But overall, that came out amazing. So that's what I'm talking about, those dimples, because you see the reflection of the dimple on the blade. This slot fits absolutely amazing. But because I went so deep with these dimples and right next to the blade, you see a reflection, and I'm not sure that I like that. But hey, you know what? Every knife is a learning experience. I think that guard came out really cool. I like that texturing on it. I mean, heck, why not? Something different. What do you guys think? Look at that guard. do want to show something. See how I brought the handle into the guard and then came out? I think that's the right way to do it. I've done it where the radius comes right from the guard into the handle material and kind of a radius, and I don't really like that. I like it better when this is flat, 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 flat into the guard and then it comes up. I think that makes it look a lot nicer. I would like to show off how my material, there's no ridge between these because I used something hard to sand the material from here and here at the same time. So there's no pronounced ridge there between the two materials. It's nice and smooth. I just broke the edges back here just so it wasn't sharp. Just broke it real quick, real easy. I went real simple on the handle shape. I just kind of rounded the top over and I rounded the bottom over slightly. I kept a flat here and a flat here coming out of the guard, and then I just kind of rounded the edges over real lightly. This fits in your hand extremely well, and like I said before, I like it to flow where the butt and the tip are low and the highest point of the knife is right there. I just think that looks the best. And when you're holding it in your hand, it fits your hand. Look at me putting smudges all over my finish, whatever. But it fits your hand real nice. You can choke up here and do work on it like this, you know. So anyhow, there it is. I'm going to take some pictures of it. And the pictures will be better than this video. They always are.